I'm Carey Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the dinosaur on tour and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carey Stinson, and this is Purple Roads. Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Carey Stinson, and as always, I'm thrilled you're here. We've been having a fun season, and we're going to keep that up with Caitlin Classens from Super Simple. Singer, producer, writer, so many different things, and we're going to talk about them all in this episode. Caitlin, how are you?
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's very exciting to be here.
I know, and I appreciate you so much. We have tried a couple times to get you on here, and here you are.
It's happening. October is the magical month
It
where
is.
everything we
It is. And
couldn't
you're
do
in
in the summer, you can
Toronto.
do. Yes, we're in Toronto, Canada. That's where our studio is. And I'm in my office where I do a lot of filming for social media stuff, lots of creating and writing, brainstorming happens in here. It's a good space.
I can feel it. I can feel the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that has been so fascinating to me, and I love so much because, boy, it's changed a lot from, when I started with Barney, and you
Oh,
had to have a
man.
studio, and there it makes me sound so old, but we didn't have all of these things that we have now, where we can have a room, we can be in Canada, we can be on YouTube and reach the world, which I just think is amazing and brilliant.
Yeah, YouTube certainly does open up a total global audience. You can reach people from all over the world. But we're real big fans of Barney here at Super Simple. We actually were just producing and creating a show that we filmed this summer, and we watched a lot of Barney to get the vibe. And we wanted to go a little bigger, so we went to a sound stage, and when we would walk in, it's like, oh my goodness, it feels like a real TV show. That's kind of what we were going for. We love that aesthetic and that time when you could create something that would last a long time. I think on YouTube sometimes there's like, oh, it's a flash in a pan. But we try and make things that are going to last a long time. So we like to watch things that have lasted a long time, like Barney. Barney is awesome. I kind of forgot because I grew up watching it, and then watching it as an adult and kind of like looking for things that we liked and that worked and stuff. There's some amazing camera moves, like full on like crane shots, and the sets are so big and you're just moving around. And even in that big costume, the framing to get Barney in the frame plus the kids is so great. It's great. It
They
was a
would
big
love that,
inspiration.
by the way. They would love that. The little secret which you'll love about this, all those camera people were sports people.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, because that's what we had in Dallas at the time, right? So they
Huh.
all would work like, Cowboy games or Texas Rangers baseball or the Dallas Mavericks. And a lot of time or hockey. And so a lot of times they would leave the set that day and go to a game, go shoot
That's
a
really
game that night.
interesting. That's a cool perspective to think of because I've watched a lot of it and I've wondered if the camera moves are kind of maybe done in post or if I just want to talk to you about how
Oh,
this
I
was
love
filmed.
that. That's what this is about.
Um, yeah, coming together. Yeah, there's like pushing in on things and then coming back. And were those all actual moves that were planned out and done?
They
And
were.
and it's wow, and that's I find that so tricky when you're with a big cast like that to
It was. They
yeah,
were, and it was. So it was 4 cameras.
four
Uh,
cameras. Wow.
yeah, 4 cameras, and then as you mentioned, one on a crane, one on a and one of the cool we had one of the camera operators, Bouvet, was on one of the episodes of Purple
Oh,
Roads, and an amazing guy. Did a lot of sport. He still does Monday Night
mm.
Football. Does Monday Night Football. Travels all over the country and basketball too. But we would have like so between takes while they were working out moves and figuring these things out, he would like give me signals. So he'd give me hand signals like, it's going to be me and you're going to go there and then it's going to be that. So there was a lot of communication like that
Huh.
as well to kind of help us, who's your camera? And obviously we have kids who I love the term professional actor, but they're kids.
Right.
So they may go where they're supposed to, or so
Right.
it was really a ballet of just a really good crew and a really good cast and putting that all together in a set, by the way, where I could run and I was very large, as you can imagine, in that costume.
A big purple dinosaur.
Right, right. Over 7 feet in the costume.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I'm full running and jumping and spinning, and all the characters are doing that. Um, and we really only we would do a run through on Monday and then shoot Tuesday, Wednesday, and half day Thursday. And then
And that
Friday,
would give you one full episode?
yes.
Wow. And there's
So,
multiple sets
yes,
in one episode.
that's right. So usually you'd shoot like one stage one day, one stage the other day, that kind of stuff. And Friday was dance rehearsal. So, because I think this, there was a voice and an actor in the costume.
Right.
So the voice actors would do read throughs, and then the costume actors would do dance rehearsal. So we'd learn all the dance movements. And then Monday, we'd go in, put that all together, and with everyone, right? The directors and the producers, so we knew where we were going to go and what we were going to do. And then boom, Tuesday, Wednesday, and half a day Thursday.
Amazing.
And the kids can only work so long, right? So they've got to leave
Right,
at
of
a
course.
certain point. So, um,
Yeah. So if you don't, yeah. So we were working on a show that's going to be coming out next year. Um, and my show that I've been working on with Super Simple for a while is called Caitie's Classroom, and we did a lot of classroom episodes, and then because we had done a lot, tried some other things. So we did some sing-alongs and music videos. But anyway, we were looking at ways to get back to the classroom vibe in a big way. We wanted to not just come back the way that we had. So that's where our Barney watching inspiration came in. But that's what we were filming this summer. And it was our first time working with a kids cast. Um, yeah. And our shooting schedule was really tight. Uh, but we were cramming a lot in there, and these kids were just amazing. But yeah, with at a certain point, it's like they got to go, and if you
right,
didn't get it, I don't know, like
right,
then you were making some decisions.
right. Well, we would shoot stuff with just the dinos afterwards, right? We can work as many hours
Yes,
as we want.
that's what we would do too, right? So then you would
Yeah,
get all your um close-ups or moments without the kiddos.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
try and be efficient in that way.
Well, and the kids really are amazing. Um,
Yeah.
you know, the hours they have to put in, it's a lot of people, and there's a lot of direction, and there's a lot of things that are going on to make those things happen.
Mhm. Yeah, the
Uh,
kids on Barney were always just so incredible.
they were and are. I've had
Mhm.
several of them on now as adults. I just interviewed one the other day who's 38 years old now, and that was a
Yeah,
little
I
tough for
saw.
me. But they're still just as sweet and amazing. It's just we were very lucky to get such great kids. I have seen Caitie's classroom, and I just love the heart of what you're doing, and I love the whole super simple because it is. From what I'm
Yeah, I
seeing,
appreciate that.
it's very basic, but engaging.
The special thing about Katie's classroom that I really like and that was important for me when we were doing it is it's a bit of a follow along show. So not only in that we ask questions and people can answer and consider and sing along, but there's also activities that we do. We do crafts and little experiments and things. And it's really important for us that we keep them relatively simple so
Right,
that people at home can access it without having to get a bunch of different stuff or any specialty item. So if there was like a really cool activity we wanted to do in the classroom that had a specialty item, we would say, no, we can't do it because then people are going to go out and have to buy this special thing.
right.
So the hope is that people can follow along and make these crafts. And I get pictures all the time of our classroom friends who have made a craft, who are following along. And it's just the best because that's, I think, the magic of the classroom that you're watching a show, but you're also a part of it. You're there in the space. And so for every series episode we have a Caitie's Classroom series with 22-minute episodes. And there's 26 of those episodes, 2 seasons. And for each of those episodes, I wrote show notes for each one. So there's ideas on how to recreate the activities at home and how to even build off of them to do more learning and more play. So there's so many ideas packed in there for families to go through and try out. And it's so fun to see them doing it. I don't know if you know this, but Caitie's Classroom started out as a live show when
Did
YouTube
not
first
know
started
that.
going live.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And how was that? So it was whose idea was that, and how did that start out?
yes, that's kind of where I came in with Super Simple. Super Simple was a well-established company making songs and animations and puppet videos for YouTube. And I was doing some singing for them and some voice work, but they wanted to start doing live action. Um, I came in to do a show called Sing Along with Toby with our Toby puppet friend.
Okay.
And that was around the time when YouTube introduced live streaming. Whoa, remember when it was a brand
Right.
new thing?
I do.
And the thing with YouTube is kind of is when they release a new tool, uh, creators are greatly encouraged to interact with it. And the algorithm is a mysterious thing. And if
Right.
you don't interact with it, who knows what's going to happen?
Right.
So they wanted to create a live action show, which is very hard to do for animation and for puppetry.
Sure.
Nowadays, people kind of just put all their videos together and have it live streaming all the time.
Right.
This was before we thought of that. We were thinking we were still like in TV show mode, a live TV show.
Right.
So I came in to develop the show and it became Caitie's Classroom. So we would go live every Tuesday. Man, it was so fun. And each show had a theme. And I would write kind of little bullet point script, but it was mostly unscripted. But the coolest part was I could interact with people who were watching in real time. They would comment, and I had a TV by the camera that would have a live scroll of all the comments coming in. So sometimes when you watch it, you'll see my eyes
Right.
go over there and I'm reading. So I could say hello to people. Hello, Carey in Texas, and things like
Right.
that. Um, and then if I was singing songs, like Old MacDonald Had a Farm, we could be like, oh, Carey says there's a cow. Yeah. And we'd sing
Right.
that. Or what kind of colors we wanted to use. We would use those interactions in every aspect. And then YouTube um, changed restrictions for children's content on YouTube. So there's no comments allowed on children's content. But we also, our audience was getting so big and there were so many people asking shout outs and wanting to be acknowledged on the chat, and my heart is just breaking. I'm
Right.
singing the hello song. They're like, please say hello to me. I'm like, I could just sing the hello song for an hour.
Right.
And it just didn't become feasible. And there's also a lot of people in other time zones who liked the show who couldn't watch because it was the middle of the night.
Sure.
Anyway, so we decided to do our series, which became our 22-minute series. But we definitely wanted to keep that off the cuff vibe, that live feel. So we tried to put that in there for everybody. But it was really cool during the live stream. That's kind of where the follow along idea came, because I could say like, go get your crayons, go get your paper, and we're going to do this together. And then they would send in their photos and I would share them on the next show. It was pretty special. But that's
No,
kind of that's where Caitie's Classroom started.
I love that. That's awesome. I've done some variations on that with
Yeah.
did you know Sprouts, the network
Oh
Sprout?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Barney
Totally.
would come on Sprouts with Chica. And
And
so
that was wild too. A live show in the morning. That was
some of those
fantastic.
breaks would be that kind of thing. Right, where all of a sudden someone could say hello to Barney and that aspect of it. And the
That's so
same
cool.
concept, that thing was done almost in a closet.
Yeah.
That they would bring me in and like, oh my God, where are we going to put him?
Right. You just
Because you're right, you've got the puppet, you've got the host, and then you've got a 7 foot dinosaur that likes to jump.
that loves to jump. Very bouncy Barney.
Yeah, very bouncy, Barney. But that concept, I applaud you on that because it's hard.
Mm.
I mean, you really got to be on your toes when you're doing something like that.
Yeah, I had a lot of coworkers being like, I don't know how you do it. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I guess it was there's a lot of things I can't do,
Right.
but that was just fine. I don't know.
Was it, there's an aspect of the live part that you kind of have to miss in doing the recorded part.
Yes, you've hit the nail on the head, Carey.
Well,
I mean, you must know.
I do. I did live performances before I did the TV show. So I traveled
Yeah,
all
me
over the
too.
place and then went to do the TV show, which I loved, but a completely different concept. So what was it like for
Yes.
you?
Yeah, at first it was kind of like, okay, cool. We're going to be able to get to do stuff that we could not do in the live show. Because things take a little bit more time
Sure.
switching things around. We had a magic window that we would interact with, and we could do a lot more with that wasn't live. Um, but yeah, our crew is always they're always like, okay, we got it. Let's do one more. And I'm always like, ugh. But we've created a fun little saying. We kind of have our own vocabulary. So now when they say we're going to do one more for safety, they would always say safety. And then at one point, I don't know if we've been saying it for years, but we started calling it a tasty instead because I think I misheard safety. And then I would say everything in my mind when I hear a word becomes a song. So then
Right.
I would start going taste it from Fergie. I don't know if you're a Fergie fan. Um,
I am
Fergalicious. Anyway,
Fergalicious.
um, yeah, so we started just going taste it, and that made it more fun. So it's like it's not a safety. We're doing a tasty, and we taught that language to the kids who were on set this summer. We're like, okay, we're gonna do our tasty, everybody. And then if the tasty didn't work out, then sometimes we would do a delicious, a
Yeah.
scrumptious. It started to get elevated, and we had to do
Right.
more. But yeah, I feel that because I grew up doing musical theater. And then I went to film school because I thought film was a great way to capture ideas and to share ideas. And I was like, no way. Film is like, oh, I couldn't, oh, it takes so long. And then once you see it, you're like, that's not what I wanted. But with a live performance, if it's not working, you can shift it right away,
Right.
which is so nice. And then you don't have to wait kind of like 3 months to see something and be like, that didn't really turn out the way I thought it would. I wish I could have done this and that. So that's been a learning curve. And that's something I still every day I'm like, patience,
Right.
take
Well, and
take
and
your
the other
time.
thing that's so hard is the energy part, right? Because when we do that show, the live show, when you shoot out of the curtain, when you come back, it's done. Like you're out there. But on
Right.
this, if you once you do a scene, well, it all has to stay consistent.
Hmm.
So you got to bring your energy back up, right? You come out and you do all this thing, and then they go, all right, let's do that again. Or we didn't get that, or whatever it
Yeah,
may
you're like,
be. It's time to do a
what?
tasty, tasty.
Tasty, tasty.
That's right. I don't have the voices you do, but there you go. You got to bring that energy back up again. So it is a challenge
Hmm.
because there's a lot of sitting and waiting, lights and cameras and
Right.
all that stuff. So is
Yeah.
that
And
a challenge for you as well?
well, in terms of energy, I've always been able to like turn it on, I
Turn
guess.
it on. Yeah.
Uh um yeah, people have always asked like, where do you get your energy from? I was like, I don't know. I'm tired. But I don't know.
Right.
I've always wanted people to have a nice experience so I can like bring it out to try and make other people comfortable or just I don't know.
Sure.
But I will say it's definitely getting harder as I've gotten older. I used to do before I was working with Super Simple so much. I used to do birthday parties. I would go to kids' houses and play their birthday parties, and it was so fun. And I used to like be able to do four in a day and be like, "Great, that was a great day." And now, I mean, I don't even do them anymore. I can't even do them anymore because I need my weekends to
Right.
recharge. Um, but yeah, I remember like the last time I did two in a day. It's like, holy moly, how did I do this? But I don't know. That's why I'm lifting weights. I'm doing all the things I can do to keep the energy going. But yeah, I feel that a
Well,
little bit.
well, and let's talk about there's obviously working with kids, there's energy from them because they have endless energy. So that has to help.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, but before on a lot of these shows, I'm also the producer. So
Okay.
I'm scheduling our
Sure.
shoots, and so I tend to not necessarily give us a lot of time. This is something I've been working on. And then when it came with kids, I was very much like, oh, it's not just me anymore. Before it was just me talking to the camera, and
Right.
now we have a cast. That's gonna take longer, but
Yes.
still didn't really. I've learned to give us a lot more time. Because yeah, they have a lot of energy, and having to uh bring them back up to the same place. Excuse me, I'm gonna have a burp.
All
Excuse
good.
me. Bringing them back up to the same place can sometimes take more energy from everybody else as well. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with them. We had a bunch of kids that were like wanting to be more behind the camera too. So we were showing them stuff behind the camera in between takes and then getting them back. Yeah, it was interesting bringing them into a crew that we have had for a long time. But oh my gosh, the parents are amazing. Parents are so wonderful, and like and these kids are incredible. The things that they can do, and they're there all day. It was the summer, and they just were such troopers. So they definitely helped when you have someone else to feed off of. That sounds terrible. When you have someone else to
Yeah, the
interact
energy.
with.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I know exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Like I just watched a vampire movie last night because ''tis the season. So
Right.
feed off
Right.
of
Right.
anyway, making it worse. Um, yeah, they have a lot of energy.
All right. So we kind of jumped into this, which I love we did, but I go back for 1 second. Go this way. Um,
Yeah,
how'd you get into this? And let's just talk about the singing and performing, and then we'll get into the kids part of it.
sure. Yeah, I was always a, a singer, I suppose. I loved to sing. I loved all the Disney movies and singing along. I would I didn't know what to do with it. Like I did some musical theater. My mom put me into some little singing competition things. But it was mostly musical theater that did it. And then loving certain singer-songwriters. I loved Jewel growing up and was a big fan of all these women who played guitars and sang their songs. I was like, I want to play guitar and sing songs. I wanted to sing their songs. So I learned guitar and started doing some bands. I was in bands in university and still do playing with bands sometimes. Uh, but it also always kind of had the work I did always had a bend towards children and education. Whether I was one of my first jobs was doing a puppet show at a like pumpkin fest at this farm festival thing that I would go in on different seasons anyway and do puppet stuff. And then yeah, just every job I had was camp or being in a school and doing performances there.
But you
And
weren't directed, like that wasn't where you wanted to go. That's just the work that came up.
I guess that was just kind of what I was interested in.
Okay.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was kind of just, I don't know. I knew that I liked singing and I knew that I could mimic different voices. Um, and my mom was always really supportive of that. She was like, your voice. Ooh, and I was like, okay. But I don't know. What do you do with that? But I went to film school and I went to a dramatic arts high school. So I was always performing. Um, so when I got out of school, that's kind of what I looked for. I started working with a company in Toronto that tours schools, and that was a wild job. We would wake up at like 3 in the morning to be at a school. We'd have to drive to Toronto, get the set, drive to the school to be there for 7 to set up to do a performance for the kiddos. And it would be performances about different social emotional topics.
Sure.
And then we would go into the classroom and talk about those topics, pack up everything, go to the next school, set up, do it all over again, talk in the classroom, tear it down, go back to Toronto, go back home. So then you're getting back home at like 7 o'clock. And then you wake up at 4 and you do it again. That's the things you can do when you're 20 years old.
Right.
And then on the weekends, do birthday parties, and it's all great.
Right.
But what really kind of shifted for me was I moved to New York City for a little while.
Okay. And where are you from?
I'm from Canada.
Okay.
And I moved to New York. I was trying to get a visa. I was trying to make the New York thing work.
Sure. Sure.
So I went down there, and there was all these music programs for early learners with their caregivers. I actually had a friend who was like, "Oh, you would be good at this singing for babies job." I was like, "Singing for babies? What is that?" I kind of pictured him in these fancy Upper East Side apartments, like singing children to sleep. I had no context for what this was, but it's, of course, now they're a lot more readily available. But then it felt very much like a New York thing. So it was, a group of children with their caregivers, and I would come in with a guitar, and there's shakers and there's scarves, and we're having fun, right? We're getting up on our feet. We're doing different music songs and things. So I started doing that for a lot of different companies. And then when I came back to Toronto, there was nothing like that here. So I started doing my own classes, and I created my own little thing. I called it Caitlin for Kids. And I would go to schools and do programs for daycares, and I would do my own classes around. My favorite was in the summer when you could do it outside. That was really nice. And that's kind of when I got connected with Super Simple, because I was also doing vocal work, and I was working with one sound designer who was also working with Super Simple. And he said, "You guys should connect." So we connected. I started singing for them, and that's kind of where things took off. And then I started working for them full time, and then couldn't do my classes anymore. But now I was doing classes for a global audience on YouTube.
Right.
I was like, okay. And
Yeah,
that's how it happened.
I love that because it's so fun. I mean, that's kind of what happened for me with someone introduced me, said they were working with Purple Dinosaur. I'm like, what is
Purple Dinosaur?
What is Barney? What is Purple? Because there was no TV at that time. It was they were doing birthday parties, funny enough.
Oh, wow.
And so that was my original as well. I did birthday parties as Barney.
Look at that. And would you and you wouldn't talk?
No,
No,
I
I guess
mean,
not.
you
When
want
you're
to talk
in
about
a
old
mascot
school?
costume.
We were in a van.
Yeah.
Driving. So we're probably doing 3 to 4. So 3 or 4 on Saturday, 3 or 4 on Sunday. And there was a lady that would drive the van, and we had no cell phones or anything at that point. So we'd have a map. I'd be on the map. And we had a tank, helium. I was blowing up balloons. And then
Wow.
we would show up and go to a parking lot somewhere, and I would get in the costume. And then it was a jam box. So they would play the songs, and then I would dance and sing along with kids.
So is that the origin of Barney?
No, the origin was
But
they were
that's
doing,
also so that was when Barney was already a show.
well, no. So Barney was VH, it was tapes.
I see.
We
Okay.
did 3 videos. This was late 80s because I started in 91. So this was like 89.
Okay.
They did 3 videos, and mom saw this and went to them and came up with the birthday idea, and they let her do it.
Yeah.
Then when the TV show became big, you can't obviously have Barney in people's backyards because, legal aspects of that.
Right.
And so that's when I got hired. I got asked to go on and do promotions for them, and then it turned all the things it turned into.
Fantastic.
But it's funny. It's just interesting hearing your story because that's kind of the way it goes, right? You're hunting and you're searching for jobs and just kind
You're
of following the
hustling. You're
path.
doing the
Right.
thing. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And the next thing you know, you're on YouTube talking to the world.
Yeah. And then you're in a purple dinosaur costume for 22 years.
Right. Yeah. It's
I
crazy.
know. I know. Oh, I've been working with Super Simple since 2018. And it
Wow.
was, kind of started out as something like, well, let's try it and see how it goes. And it's just been every year, um, since we stopped the live show, they give me a lot of creative freedoms. They're kind of like, what do you want to make? What do you want to do? And I come up with some ideas and they're mostly like, cool, go ahead, give it a whirl. And I was like, all
Is
right.
it are you writing a script? Are they writing a script? How does that go?
Yeah, it's always been it feels a lot like a bunch of kids kind of getting together and making a movie. Like so we just I pretty much like come up with the idea, write a script, I do a shot list and stuff, and I work with the other people here, bounce ideas off of them, and then we go and do it. And we're a small crew. We most of the time, I mean, when we were doing our bigger classroom show that's coming out next year, we had three cameras going, but most of the time it's just one camera, one sound person, and then maybe an assistant who's like gonna hold one of those light reflecty thingies.
Yeah.
And we go off and do it. So when we would do a field trip, we go to different places and show kids how things happen. So we get like a haircut or we go somewhere fun like the fair. It's just a really small crew, and I write those scripts and contact the places and make the arrangements to go. So it feels kind of like you're making your movie in school or something, which
Very
is great.
organic, right? It's very
Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. 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 And we've slowly been growing a little bit. So like we had our cast come in, and then there was a show I wanted to do uh called Caitie's Questions that actually just came out. The first couple of episodes we did a little YouTube channel takeover for Caitie's Questions earlier, when it was at the end of August and September. So four episodes came out, and this was a big project that I wanted to do, but it was the first of its kind that we had done. So we invited 40 people into our studio, all at different times, and we asked them the same questions, questions that kids could answer and relate to. So things like, what do you like to put on your hamburger? And, simple stuff like, what's your favorite color? Or here are three hats. What's your favorite hat out of these three hats? And then we also asked some more social emotional stuff like, how do you show somebody you love them? Or how do you know when they love you? And what's something that scares you? And my idea for this show was to just show children the diversity of people in the world and the diversity of answers you can have, and that there's no right answer. Uh, and you might not know what somebody likes just by looking at them, and it might surprise you. And you might think, oh, I relate to this person so much, but wait a minute, you like anchovies?
right.
What's that about? I don't know. So simple, fun things. Anyway, so that was a big project that I wanted to do that they were like, go ahead. And we got to do that. And I produced that and put that together. And yeah.
So what I was curious when we're listening to all of that. So when we were doing the show, there's
Yeah.
like a team of people, right?
Mhm.
There's producers and executive producers and education people and all of that. So it's a great thing, but there's a whole process to all of this. It sounds like it's a lot simpler. You know, is there like we actually had a Barney Bible.
Yeah.
So,
So we
so I'm
do things
curious
like
about
that.
that.
Yeah. Well, Super Simple has a lot of shows. There's a lot of characters.
Okay.
I just happen to be a human person that can talk on a
Sure.
podcast. Yeah, but there's Noodle and Pals, and there's Rymington Square, and there's all the puppets, and Finny the Shark, uh, the Bumblenums, and these are all shows, animated shows that they do, and there are specific Bibles for those things and who these characters are. Our live action stuff, like we kind of came in and we're doing a little bit of our own thing. And we're, it like I said, it felt a lot like kind of like let's just create some stuff and throw it out there because we're live action. We can just throw out a camera and try some stuff and do it a little bit more quick.
Sure.
But we're definitely there's definitely core things about what we create and what we want to uh, give to our audience. That I guess you could kind of like call it our
Sure, we,
Bible
we,
and
we
things like
do touch this subject. We don't touch this subject. And
that.
what's the core audience age wise?
Yeah, I would say for Caitie's classroom, we do get a large range. So I see people watching who are like 1 to 5, but because we're a global audience and the roots of Super Simple is actually in English as a second language. It was created by teachers who are teaching English in Japan. So we
Okay.
get a lot of people watching from other parts of the world where they're learning English. So then I hear from a lot of people who are 7, 8, 9 watching and learning, and a lot of teachers use it in their classrooms to teach English. So, but I would say our main audience is actually in the States for Caitie's classroom, and I would say it's about 2 and 3 is the sweet spot because then 2, 3, 4 because then you could do the activities and everything too.
Sure. So is there someone saying, or is it you saying, maybe this is above, like it's too advanced, they're not going to understand it? I mean, super simple. So are you trying to keep things really simple and at an age point, or are there some things that you try that not know they might understand?
Yeah, I think because we're live action and we can do things a little quick and it is YouTube, we can try different things. Like for example, Caitie's questions is for an older audience and
Sure.
it's kind of great for co-viewing as a family and hopefully parents get something out of it too. And then we have our music videos where we see like kiddos who are like 6 months to a year watching and enjoying. So there's a little bit of something for everybody. And when we're creating something, we definitely consider all those things. You know, when I'm writing a script, especially for people who are watching who don't speak English, I'll think like, okay, is there a better word I could use there that would communicate this more easily? Always editing myself, down. Um, I know Mr. Rogers had like his set of rules about if he wanted to say something, and then he would take it through these rules to remove this, make sure you're not doing this, all that. And then you end up with that perfect sentence. And we think about that a lot when we're putting our classroom stuff together.
Well, and that's what we did too. We kept it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Uh,
and like really succinct and yeah.
so I'm curious on the song part, is there like an idea or does lyrics come to you or where does that come from?
Yeah, well, the songs are something that have been happening in Super Simple for a long time before I came on, and I'm mostly just the singer of the songs.
Okay.
Every now and then I'll write a song and send it to the team. We actually came up with a Christmas album
All right.
the year before. No, when did it come out? Last year? It came out last Christmas? Yes. And I wrote a bunch of songs for that. That was really fun. Just to kind of sit down and be like, let's write Christmas songs. Go. Um but a lot of the times our songs are inspired by teachers and parents. You know, what would be helpful for a parent, what would be helpful for a teacher. And I'll give some advice about the movements for the animated characters and stuff. But often I don't hear a song until like I'm doing a vocal record this afternoon for 4 songs that I didn't hear before yesterday. So I'm going to go in and sing them. So we have a team that writes songs and does the arrangements. It's all the same team. Again, a small team that does all that and
For
puts
all
these
the
things
different shows.
together. Yeah, all the different shows. Yeah, so mostly when a song gets when there's an idea for a song and it gets brought to the team and they kind of think, okay, where does this belong? Is this a Caitie song? Is this a Noodle song? Um, and yeah, and then it gets arranged kind of to sound like that brand or whatever. And then it goes in and I sing songs for Noodle and Pals and I sing songs for Remington Square. So my voice is on a lot of those things. And then obviously I sing the Caitie songs. Uh yeah, but that's I'm not so much involved in the creation of the songs all the time. Mostly they come to me and then I get to sing them, which is my favorite part. I love to sing the songs and I love performing the songs and I love hearing them. It's so exciting to hear a new song and be like, "Holy moly, this is so good. I can't wait for this to come out."
So,
Really.
so like today, today's a great example. You're going to do those 4 songs. How long does
Yes.
it take you? Do you listen to them a couple times and then you give it a shot? And
Yeah. So I
is
listen
there
to the
editing that
songs.
goes on during this process? What's kind of the process?
Yeah. So I got the tracks from our audio engineer, and yeah, I listened to them a couple times yesterday, and once we're done, I'll listen to them a couple times too. They are super simple,
Sure.
so they're not
That's
the
cool.
most tricky song
Sure.
to learn. But yeah, I sing along a couple times, and if there's anything that I need to remember, I write it down on the lyrics. I make my little notes. And then I go into the booth, and we generally we have 4 songs that we're going to do, and we'll probably get that done like 2.5 hours. We chat a bit too. We're
Oh,
we're
yeah.
we're chatty. So yeah, we'll go in there and sing, and I'll usually run through the song fully. I usually do like a full take. And we'll do that a couple times. We'll do our tasty. And then if there's anything that's kind of tricky, if I'm not getting it or we want to make sure that we've got it a certain way, then we'll go in and do those specific lines. But that doesn't really happen that often. We're mostly just kind of running through it, and then we have an editor who takes kind of the best parts of each one and mixes it together, and then we have a song.
So the fun fact, when I was doing Barney and Friends, my brother was the recorder of the
Oh,
songs.
no way.
Yeah,
A family affair.
it was. So he was one of 2 that would do all that. And so he would do all exactly what you guys were doing. And so that's why I know about the chatting, because
Yeah.
I know what those guys and girls did. They would sing and then they'd record something and all that. Uh,
Yeah.
so I know a
Yeah.
lot about that.
Yeah. And then you catch up a little bit. All right,
Sure.
let's do the next song. We sing the
Right.
song.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because you have to keep it within same thing, making sure your energy's up.
Right.
Are we on
Yeah.
because these
And
songs
we,
are going to go they're going to go all over the world. I mean, it's a different thing, right? When you record that,
mhm,
it's out there.
mhm. And right now we're working on a project, and we're focusing a lot on songs being used in the classroom. So we're making a lot of songs specifically for vocabulary, specifically for teachers who are teaching English to young students. So we also have the thought process of pronouncing certain words and what's the proper way to do this. Or if we're saying, if we're teaching like mother, is it mother, is it mum, is it mummy, is it mommy? There's so many different ways. So it's kind of like, what's the word, what's the right word to use, and think about the different ways to pronounce it. So sometimes I'm doing alts, where I'll say various words for things. Yes, but that's been an interesting perspective when you think about how is a song going to get used in the classroom. You want to make it super simple. Like
Right.
I was recording a song the other day. We were actually recording, it was a re-record of a super simple song called What Do You Hear? It's an older song that we made a new arrangement for. It goes, listen, listen, what do you hear? And it was originally a duet, and we were changing it to just be one voice. So I was singing it, and in one of the voices would go, listen, listen, and the other voice would go, listen, listen. And I went in there thinking, I'm going to go, listen, listen. But then I was like, okay, well, why are we doing that one instead of the listen, listen? Because as a children's musician, we generally like to go up, right?
Right.
We want to go, hello, hello. It's more fun instead of going like,
Sure.
hello, hello. We're just kind of like womp womp.
Right.
But when we say listen, the inflection in our voice is listen, listen, listen when we just say it, right? So it makes sense when we're singing it to go listen, listen instead of listen, listen. So we went with the one that goes down, even though musically you want to go up,
Sure.
but for speech and vocabulary, it makes sense to go down.
Well, and I love you just said that because these shows that we're talking about, your show and Barney and Mr. Rod, all that, they look so simple. but it's things
Right.
like that that goes on behind the scenes to make it look so simple.
Right.
And
Yeah. To make
I
it simple
love
and
that
effective.
explanation because it's, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I love those kind of conversations. I also just love like, oh, is there a different way to think about this? Which is why I wanted to do Katie's questions so badly. So I was hoping to show children that. I was like, how do you show children that? How do you show anybody that? But I love that idea of this is the way it is, but oh, wait a second. If we think about it from a teacher or a child perspective, it actually shouldn't be like that. It's better if it's someone. And I love those like mind blowing moments where it clicks and you're like, oh, that's the right answer. Oh, of course it's the right answer.
Well, and how do you explain going back to the mom and the mommy and all of that? How do you get that across that, well, depending the culture and the country and the and all of that, that
Yeah, I
it's
know.
all right depending who's
Totally.
saying it.
So in that case, we might do we do alts. So we'll have the recording of different things. We tend to default to American English, even though we're in Canada, we drop our
Sure.
U's
Right.
for our YouTube titles and our largest audiences in the States. So we
Sure.
default to that. But yeah, it's a big question. And depending on what the song is going to be used for and what the project is, that can change what we decide. Yeah. It's always interesting. And so
Yeah.
it's always and that's what we chat about.
Well, it's all those little details. Like I'm looking
Yeah.
right now at your overalls and your all those colors, right? You have
Yeah.
to make decisions about that because
Hmm.
all of those little things, behind you, the shelves and all the colors and
Yeah.
the
Oh, the
instrument,
shelves.
right?
Yeah.
It's so important to how they react.
And then one color or one decision affects the next. For
Yes.
example, like when we were creating, we have a new classroom set that's coming out. It's very exciting with the show that we did. But when we were coming up with the designs and stuff, I like yellow. I think yellow is a fun color. So we're like, let's
Sure.
make it yellow. But then one of our executive producers was like, but you're yellow. You're already yellow. So it's like, are you going to blend in? It's like, oh, yeah. Okay, how many colors are there? How many colors could there be? So yeah, and you have to think about all those about how everything is eventually going to come together too. There's a lot of moving parts, and that's kind of the fun part for me too. I love producing as much as I love creating and performing it. Sometimes I feel like I wouldn't be able to perform somebody else's thing. It's like if because I don't think I'm an actor, very much like a performer. I'm like, this is an elevated version of me.
Sure.
Yeah. So if somebody else was like, go here and do this, I'd be like, I don't know how good at that would be. But anyway, so it's probably good that we see all the moving parts together. And that's the way that we like it. This way that we do things here. We're very lucky that we're able to do that because of YouTube and because of our audience. We're able to do that without any outside funding or outside people saying you should do this. It's pretty cool.
Well, it's so important. I really Barney was Barney because of, we weren't in New York or Hollywood or had, it was a school teacher, a bunch of teachers that created this, and it was a very simple show in Texas. And I think that's why it works so well. We were doing a lot of what you were doing, right? Kind of
Hmm.
making up as we go in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
we didn't have to, make all these decisions and all these we're in a whole crew of people. It was kind of like,
Totally.
let's do this, and this works. So I think that's where you find the most success doing exactly what you're doing, where there's not too many, cooks in the kitchen.
Yes, and you can get lost what the message is and why you're doing it. Yeah. It's nice to have people on the same page.
Absolutely. I mean, I can obviously your energy comes across um, through this, and I think
Yours too, Carey. This is nice.
yeah, it's fun, but that's the important aspect of that, right? And I love the whole super simple because that's got to keep you talk about the Bible, like that's got to be grounded in everything that all of you do.
Definitely.
What are we doing? Super simple.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's, our like I had mentioned, our roots are in teaching and English and vocabulary, and that's still true for everything that we do, and we still think about that. And we're we're in a lot of households now too, so we're thinking about family and parents. But yeah, that is the ethos of Super Simple for sure.
Well, that's exciting too, that we've now got to the point where, I mean, we're doing that, right? You can stream. I mean, being able to get to the content is very easy now.
Yeah, and we also have an app. There's the Super Simple app that people can go into and subscribe. That's just the Super Simple content, because we know that safety online is
Sure.
is an important thought that a lot of parents are having, and we are on YouTube. So we wanted to also create a place where people could go and just see the super simple stuff that we make, that we know that people love and they can use in different ways. So we also have our app, which is really cool. Yeah, but we're mostly on YouTube. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And it's worked out.
Well, and I love you say that because I went to the website and all that. And
Yeah,
I thought that's it's really well done. If I was a parent of a young one, I would feel safe there. The way that you had to fill out questions and things like this, and it
wonderful.
wasn't too much, but I think that's such an important part now. And I think YouTube and our good friend Danny Joe,
Yeah.
and that has been a big issue, is that making sure the parents can feel good, and I think just hearing this and how you guys are doing, you're just doing it the right way, which I love.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the website, because I think a lot of people don't know that when you go there, we have, speaking of teachers and all that, tons of resources for people on there. For a lot of our songs, we have corresponding worksheets and free printables, all sorts of activity ideas on there that are just it's a gold mine of stuff. If you're a fan of Super Simple Songs and the different shows, you can go on there and find all sorts of things.
Which I think that's awesome too, because for kids, especially, well, let's say for their parents, they're looking for those things,
Activities.
activities, things that their kids can do, but that are good, right? They're fun, but at the same time, they're also learning something good,
Totally.
positive.
Yeah, yeah. And you can recognize the characters, and take what you've learned from the song or from the show and kind of show that you know it. For a lot of our counting songs, then we have like a counting worksheet, and it has the characters on it, and they're also coloring sheets. So you can color while you're doing your counting and adding.
Well, it's so important. When I was a kid, it was the Electric Company, Sesame Street, and Mr. Rogers.
Yeah,
I remember it very well watching
me
those
too.
shows.
Yeah.
And it became very, obviously I had no idea where I was going to go in life, but that was really important. Though I love those shows, I love watching those shows. And it was something that my parents felt really good about. They were all very positive shows in that
Yeah.
aspect. And then the times have changed, right? I mean, now kids are on YouTube and more than ever. And to
There's
have
a lot
things
of
like
stuff.
this that are so positive, I love that we're keeping that going all these years later.
Yeah. Well, I definitely remember those shows too. And I think people who like Danny Joe too, like we remember watching these shows, and we want to bring there's a lot of creators who grew up loving those things, and they want to put a little bit of that out there. I remember how comforting it was, and how like watching these shows. Yeah, it's super formative. I remember what it was like to be a kid. So I want to give a little bit of that back. Yeah. So those people who were brought up on that, bringing it back out, it's the full circle.
It's the full circle. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. We've got a little bit more time, and I got to ask you because this has been amazing. We've just gone all over the place. Um, so what's next? Where did this go? Obviously,
Yeah.
the show over the summer. When is that going to air?
So we're going to air that in May. We're going to do
Okay.
a another. So our YouTube channel, where a lot of the Caitie content goes, is Super Simple Play with Caitie.
Okay.
And that's going to be doing a little channel takeover in the month of May. We're going to do Movement May, because it's a movement based show in the classroom. And that's going to be coming out. Then we're going to be releasing more Caitie's Questions episodes in February, is the plan. Another takeover there and more series there we're going to be talking about. What are like funny things? What do you think is funny? What else is there? I think we're talking about, I can't remember. I feel like there's so many things.
I can't imagine why. It's like you're sitting
I
around
can't
all
remember the other themes. Yeah. But wait, there's more. Because we also have a podcast. We have a podcast called Imagination Time with Caitie, and we're putting that into the third season. I know there's a lot of families out there that really love that. So that's very exciting to keep that going. That's all about using your imagination. It's just me and our music director, Zach, who plays piano. We go on a little imagination adventure that's inspired by a super simple song. And there's lots of these little social emotional earworms in there. So we have little ditties and jingles about waiting or taking a deep breath, getting ready or trying things again or looking around. And parents can use those jingles in their everyday life. So we've got more episodes of those coming, and I'm so, so excited for them. And we're also dipping our toe in the world of live shows again,
okay.
concerts. Yep.
The
Because I
best.
love
The best.
yeah, the best, and like going out and actually meeting people. So we did a concert this past summer just here in Toronto, just to kind of be like, let's do it. Let's see what happens. And
Love
people
that.
came from the States and from different places in Canada. In every single show, we did four of them. At the beginning, I would ask people, like, I know people came from far away. Is anyone coming from here? Is coming from there? There was always one person in each show that had flown to be there, who had flown overseas, which just was like, whoa. It's like
Right.
so hard to get anywhere with young kids.
Right.
And yeah, anyway, it was like we all gave them big claps. And then we would do meet and greets after, and it was so, so lovely. So we want to do more of that. We created our character Toby, who is my puppet friend. We created a mascot costume, and actually, our mascot performer is big fan. Just, I mean, she's amazing. She's so, so great, and she knows everybody in the mascot and puppeting world. And yeah, big fan. So we want to do more of those shows here in Toronto, and hopefully, like getting down to the States is a bit tricky, as you need visas and all that. But we're
Sure.
working on it, and yeah, we're gonna hopefully do some more live concerts and involve other characters too.
I
So it's
love
very
that.
exciting. Yeah, and just kind of yeah, we're gonna do more songs. We've got lots more songs coming out next year and field trips. It's really exciting. We kind of yeah can do all sorts of stuff and lots of stuff. We're doing lots of stuff,
It
which
sounds
is
like
the way we like it. I like it. If I don't have eight balls in the air, I'm like I'm not doing anything.
right. I understand it. And shout out to your mascot.
Yeah, Cheyenne, she's great.
Cheyenne, shout out. Obviously that whole world is it's so amazing because costume people, we understand, right? It's about Barney, it's about Toby. It's not about
Mhm.
us. And so there's a real dedication to that, and you're never hot, you're never tired, and all that good stuff. So
Never, never,
trust
ever.
me, trust me, I understand that. And the as much as I love the TV show, there's nothing like live performing. I
Yeah.
mean, those performances, because I did that like a 30-minute sing-along. I did
Mhm.
that for 10 years before we did touring. So it would just be me on stage 30 minutes, like I don't know, like an intimate thing with sometimes 10,000 people. It was
Yeah.
the most craziest thing. So
Wow.
yeah,
It's so cool. And I'm assuming there was like other cast members in that show, or was
no,
it was just the dinosaur?
it was a backdrop and Barney.
Awesome.
We did, I've told the story, but the short of it, I did it several times in Minnesota for a weekend. So 3 shows a day in front of 16,000 people per show.
16,000.
16,000 people um, for the Minnesota State Fair. And it's just Barney. And I mean, Like you could hear it rocking. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, and the theme song, and I come jumping out, and it's just the most amazing thing as you
Yeah.
see those kids and they're singing along and they're doing the dance movement. And I presume you have this too. The interaction with the child and the parent is amazing because that's when the parent gets it,
Hmm.
right? They've heard the songs all day. They've heard all that, but then when they can see their child at a live show interact and
And the
see Katie on
magic.
stage, right? It just the parent that whole thing is just it's so special. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. It's a really beautiful thing. There's a bunch of content creators for YouTube that are doing live shows now, and I'm just like loving each one. I'm like, I want to get out there. I want to do that. So we're working on that too because it's just so wonderful, and to give people the opportunity to experience it and have that moment together, it's nice.
And how can they find that? Is it going to be a website kind of thing? These
Yeah, so
performances,
we
or is it social media, or how do they find out about these performances?
Yeah, so we would announce it on our social media channels. So there's Super Simple Official, and then
Okay.
there's Super Simple Caitie. Those are the
Okay.
two handles where you would find that information. And on our website, supersimple.com. It would be
You
on there
did
too.
that well.
No, thanks. Supersimple.com. There you go. Supersimple.com. Ta-da! It's
I,
on the
I was
World
I
Wide
was
Web.
hoping you'd sing at some point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think one of the most popular songs of Super Simple that it's had a real moment is the happy song. I don't know if you're familiar. I don't know how much time you spend on TikTok. Um,
A little bit, because
a
we had
little
to
bit,
put
yeah.
Purple Roads on my, yeah, I had to have my daughter put Purple Roads on TikTok. So that's about the extent,
Yeah.
um, but it's been good. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it's okay. Yeah, Katie's on TikTok. Yeah, and just like signing on to a Zoom meeting. I'm like, what is it different? I don't know. Anyway, I understand. Um, but there was one of our songs, the happy song, it's called. Maybe your daughter knows it because if if I ever meet people and they don't have kids, then I let them know, like, oh, I'm the singer of the happy song, and then they're like, oh, and then they understand. But I'll sing the part that kind of got used in a lot of videos for you if you like.
Please.
It's high pitched, but the chorus goes, "This is my happy song. I like to sing it all day long. I'll teach you the words, then you can sing along." And then we do it in a high voice. Happy, happy. Anyway, so then people started taking that and they made videos with a cat dressed up as a banana. Anyway, I think Kim Kardashian used that sound, and Demi Lovato, lots of people went all over the place. So that's kind of for the people without children, that's our little claim to fame.
I love that. Well,
So if I'm gonna sing anything, that's the thing I
well, no,
should
this is
sing.
where that all goes, right? I mean, you don't know who's watching, who you're reaching to, all of that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a fun time for us
And I
to
would be
see all that
singing
happen.
that, all day now, the happy song. There's no way that didn't stick in your head.
I know. It's great. Little catchy little earworms.
Well, right. And there's no way you're not smiling and being happy as you're
Totally. Yeah.
right, which is the key. Caitlin, this has just been a pleasure.
It's been so nice chatting with you. And I would love to chat more about Barney sometime too. I
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love hearing about it.
Absolutely. Well, I
So
love
cool.
seeing what you're doing. It's just to me, it's so important that um, all this positivity and all this wonderful work that you all are doing. Um, Barney means the absolute world to me, and what it's
Yeah.
done. I will tell you, I just got the other day a letter from a fan that just melted my heart. The importance of what we're all doing, and it's amazing. And you're
Yeah.
keeping it going, and you guys are doing new things, and I love the, oh, who knows where it goes next, from the
Exactly.
questions to the big class to the live
I know.
performances.
I know. Yeah, we're very excited about all the different opportunities that we can create and do together. And but at the core of it, it's always super simple. How are parents, teachers, kids going to interact with this, and what do we want them to feel when they watch it?
Well, I love it. We will just have to talk again soon.
Yeah. So thank you very much. This is a lovely combo.
Well, thank you. And thank you for watching Purple Roads. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your purple road. See you soon.